I saw one on Impala Road, close to Power Lines Junction, when I was on a bushwalk. It was just a fleeting glimpse. I want to get the photographs though. Look at that. Can you believe it? Oh, that's even better. Oh, that's the lady. Also quite impressive. Often the ladies don't get any coloration, but she's still looking very good. Another one of the lady. And that's their nest. Interesting. Very good. And the little eggs that go in the nest. So, violet-eared waxbill is another bird that we can hopefully find at some point, but it's going to be a tricky one. And whichever presenter, managers, and cameraman combo, because it's definitely going to be a team effort there. The cameraman's going to have to be lightning fast. It's a small bird, but whichever team of presenter and cameramans gets the violet-eared waxbill, I think they will take the ornithology trophy for good. There's a chance that we'll start seeing the very large and pretty golden orb-web spiders, and we should do. I'm not sure if this drought has had an effect on them, but basically they would have been growing from the early months of summer, kind of November, December, in very small webs. And obviously because both them and their web are very small at the start of the summer, it takes them time to grow. Now, depending on how successfully placed their their web was, that'll obviously depend on how much food they catch and how quickly they grow. But I haven't noticed any yet, not even baby ones. So, again, I've been away for a couple of weeks, so things may have changed whilst I've been gone. But we will certainly be keeping an eye out for them. And hopefully they are going to pop up. They're incredibly cool spiders, really big, thankfully not harmful to us. And they've got incredibly strong webbing. That's a golden color. Strong enough to catch small birds, just like that violet-eared waxbill that I showed you earlier. But that's not what they're intended for. They intend to catch large insects, not birds. And the only bird that I've seen that they've actually fed on was a sunbird. Very, very small bird that the spiders actually did feed on. Usually the birds just tear up the rib. So beautiful clouds out to the west, and as we make our way down the hill, I'm just going to ask Tibbs just to give you a quick glimpse of what's going on across there. Check that out. I think we're going to be in for a beautiful sunset if the sun does manage to peek through those clouds. That's out to the west. No time to delay, obviously, because we're on the way to try and find Micah's grey-hooded kingfisher. So the only thing that I'll be stopping for are wild dog, lion, cheetah, and leopard. Other than that, we've got the blinkers on. To Chris Freeman, who's watching on YouTube, and I'm guessing you've got a whole class of students watching with you, because one of your students is interested to know how big is Juma, and it's 1,242 hectares. We do have another property called Arathusa that we can also traverse, and I think that's around about 800, not quite as big as Juma. I'm just going to stop here and allow Tibbs to try and capture this grey heron flying off. It's a bird we don't often get to see going at full speed, and that's a water hunter. A lot of you will know about herons because they do occur, I think, just about on every continent. Well done there, Tibbs. So that's the size in hectares, about 1,200 hectares here on Juma. We are a part of the Sabi Sands, which is 60,000 hectares, and the Sabi Sands in turn is connected to the Kruger National Park, which is 3 million hectares, or actually increasing. It's a trans-frontier national park that touches into Zimbabwe as well as Mozambique. So we are literally the tiniest of pinpricks on a monstrous, monstrous ecosystem. And just to give you a better idea of how much land we get to cover in a kind of format that would be understandable to more people, because hectares and acres and all these other figures and terms, often people don't know what's what. I certainly don't even really know. But it's about 5 miles by 5 miles square is the property that we get to explore here on Safari Live. So that's the general rule. It's not a perfect square. And not to confuse anyone, but there are some intricacies when it comes to traversing. And if you are ever planning on coming to Juma, you will have more land than we do. So even though we base ourselves on Juma, we don't get as much land as the guests who come to Juma to explore. They get about a total of 6,000-7,000 hectares, possibly even more. So they've got a very large area that they can traverse with their guides Aubrey and Texan. The reason why we can't get more traversing land is that the Sabi Sands are so popular, and all of the agreements to allow people to traverse one another's property have already been kind of made. And now we're trying to slowly squeeze our way in and try and get onto a waiting list. If anybody does want to give up their traverse, then we'll try and sneak in. So that's also a reason why we don't have access to more land, and it's a good thing that we don't, because more vehicles that get into any given area up to a point can be useful, but then up to a point it can also be detrimental, and you don't want to be driving around an area passing hundreds of vehicles. It definitely detracts from the wilderness experience. And as you guys have seen this afternoon, we haven't passed by not even one vehicle, and it's often the case here in Juma. We've got a lot of land and not too much traffic, which is the way you want it to be. Hello to Acidobites. Apologies if I have pronounced your slightly complicated name incorrectly. But Acidobites is interested to know, why is it that the leopard and the lion do not attack us here? And it basically comes down to the fact that the figure of a human being walking upright as we do has been one that has tormented wild animals for many, many years. And ever since the beginning of mankind, we have hunted animals and killed animals, and back then it was mainly for survival and maybe the fur of a leopard to keep warm in the winter. Either way, these animals were persecuted by us for many, many years and have remembered that. So they are cautious of us, and on top of that, and more importantly, we've evolved to be very clever, whereas lion and leopard haven't. Their evolution has made them incredibly fast, incredibly camouflaged, incredibly stealthy, good at hunting, but not good at outwitting a human being. And that's what's put us as the number one mammal on the planet, or animal on the planet really, is our brain power. And what that means is that it further allows our brain power to outcompete animals like lion and leopard simply by a display. And if and when we stand our ground, when a lion charges us, it will stop and think twice about attacking, as would you. Even if you were running up to somebody half your size, if he stood his ground and started shouting and screaming at you, you'd think, oh, hang on, maybe this guy knows karate, or maybe he's got a knife, but I don't want to jump on him just yet. And lion and leopard are the same, and because we've got that brain power, over time we've been able to kind of reassure them that A, we don't want to hurt them, B, we don't have any food for them, and C, we are going to stand our ground if they charge us. So over many, many years, they've come to realize that we aren't a threat, we're not a food source, even though we could be. And they've just come to accept us into their lives. And we fit in this kind of neutral position where it's as if we almost don't appear. So I hope that kind of does answer your question. What we need to remember is this reserve alone has been operating as a photographic safari destination for close on 65 years now, since the early 60s. And every single year people have been coming back, many people coming back on safari, making sure that we don't interfere, we don't interrupt with the animals, we don't annoy them. And over time, that's why we've been able to fit into this neutral position. I guess the same almost goes for the herbivores, which would also naturally run away from us. We've assured them that we are, again, not going to feed them, we're not going to hurt them, we're not going to hunt them. Therefore, they've got little or no concern for us. Good question though, and it is hard to believe driving around in these open vehicles that these potentially very dangerous animals don't see us as an easy meal. Just as well. Okay, Mike in Florida, get your binoculars ready because we are getting into grey-hooded kingfisher territory. Anyone else who's interested in bearing can jump on the bandwagon. If not, I don't know what to suggest, but that's what we're going to be doing for the next few minutes. We're going to drop down into this little riverbed down to our left. Well, it's our big riverbed, and it's the Mawati, the main riverbed that flows through our property, basically from the Gowrie Dam all the way down to our southern boundary. Okay, so you'll notice there's a few small cavities in this bank in front of us here. Now, those could be from kingfishers in the past, or they could be from carmine bee-eaters. Those are two birds that nest in cavities in banks. Now, further up ahead, there's going to be a few more cavities, and that's where Brent has seen the grey-hooded kingfish actually exiting from the nest. I've just seen it in this general area, so we need to keep our eyes peeled. And while we do so, I can answer a question from Leanne, who's interested to know what education did I get in order to work out here as a guide. And to be honest, it's quite simple actually. I did a 6-month course. That's usually the kind of minimum period of time that you would spend doing a wildlife course that gets you all the required national kind of legislations or qualifications in terms of national legislation in order to be able to guide. And thereafter, obviously, like any career, you start to build experience and knowledge as you go along. But it certainly isn't rocket science working out here, and certainly worth looking into if you're interested. It's not hard at all. Come on, kingfisher. Could be sitting in any of these little trees around us here. The first time I actually came here hoping to find it, quite a funny story actually, I stopped right here because the cavities in the bank are up ahead of us here. So I thought, let me stop here and check what happens. I'm not sure which cavity it is. Brent says it's the one furthest to the right, but how far right, I'm not exactly sure. But in one of these little cavities, the grey-hooded kingfisher is nesting. And I was stopped here looking all around, hoping to see it. And Liam, who's one of the other cameramen, who's out with Jamie this afternoon, says, there goes a funny kingfisher. And I hadn't told them the plan. I just come here having known that Brent had seen it here. And the kingfisher had flown from this knob thorn acacia. It's right here, I mean, just to our left. It was sitting just up here. And then it flew sadly all the way up into that dead tree. And from here, even if Teb zooms into those go-away birds that are sitting in that tree now, you don't have the greatest of views. And sadly, the grey-hooded kingfisher is a lot smaller than these grey go-away birds. But it outfoxed me. It was sitting right here, very close by for a few moments before it fluttered off. And as soon as VM said that that was a strange kingfisher or a funny kingfisher, I knew that it was the right one. Let's carry on now and see what happens. Maybe we'll still get lucky. guys are in for an absolute treat. So I'm just going to make sure that this grey-hooded kingfisher is not around one of these next corners though. And the reason why I say you're in for a treat is that apparently Jamie attempted to move a fallen down tree. I'm not too sure when, and she fell directly onto her bottom and made a fool of herself. She is now back at that same very tree, hoping to redeem herself. So, no sign of the grey-hooded kingfisher here. Sorry, Mike, we'll keep trying, but please enjoy Jamie's second attempt at moving the log.
So, I have returned to the scene because really all it took was a bit more thought than perhaps I originally put into my entire plan. There you go. That was all that was needed. Just a gentle roll rather than a tug. So I have recovered. I feel a lot better about myself. I refused to be defeated, and so we did a big circuit around Buffelshoek Dam and then came back.
You conquered your fear.
Yes, conquered my fear. Thank you, Viam. I didn't think I'd ever have to conquer my fear of silver cluster leaves, but here, there you go. Learn something new every day. Conquered the fear. We've had a good chuckle. We have recovered ourselves. I'm still laughing. I feel as though I am triumphant now and very much wrapped in my rain cover. But the tree is off the road. Now people can drive here without having to inconvenience themselves and drive around. And thank you, Silver Clusterleaf, for that particular contribution. And so, forever after, whenever we drive down Drakensberg Road, you will be able to remember the time that I fell over.
Right, let's go look for Impala.
Okay, Viam says now that we've done that, now that I was determined to do that, now we've got to go look for Impala. That's Viam's condition on returning back here, is that we go and find Impala for you guys afterwards. Well, I certainly feel better about things. The sun is out, we've had a bit of rain. I fell over, but it's okay because the tree is now out of the road and I've achieved what I set out to. Not quite how I intended. Not exactly as I intended. And as I said, every time you hear us mention the Drakensberg Road, driving up and down, you will remember that particular time. I've often said, not realizing of course that I would be the brunt of this, I've often said that Wild Earth should have a blooper reel or an outtakes reel. Well, there you go. That's one for the record books. Oh, today's not been my afternoon. I smashed myself in the hand. I fell over trying to pull a tree out of the road. That's okay. It's still a beautiful afternoon. Absolutely. James Richards, to go back to the effects that the rain might have, you were wondering if there's any chance of a giant land snail sighting, and absolutely. It's amazing how quickly they come out of that sort of, it's a sort of form of aestivation, which is kind of like hibernation. They slow down their metabolism, they withdraw into their shell, and they make quite a sort of a crusty, solid film across the base to protect themselves. And they generally do that when things get too dry. So for the most part of the dry season and in winter, we don't really ever see them. But now they start to come out, and it's amazing how fast that process actually happens. It's like the tortoises emerging. And I've spoken before about the terrapins coming into mud puddles in the road, literally within maybe an hour or so of the rain. And I know that you saw that particular, or those particular reptiles with Scott. So there's always a chance that you're going to spot a land snail as well. So you've seen the terrapins coming out and about. Thank you, everybody. Thank you everybody for the well done for the tree maneuver. Turned out to be one of the easiest trees I've ever moved, and I have moved really big trees before. It just had to be that one that led to the backward stumble. I'm going to phrase it like that. It wasn't really a backward stumble, was it? I mean, it was really, I fell over quite spectacularly, in fact. Liam, I think, is still trying to control his Cheshire Cat grin. I think he was highly, highly entertained. Not something that I'm going to repeat, so treasure that moment, because I don't intend to doing that again.
I'm going to repeat it.
Liam says he's going to repeat it. I imagine that whether I want to or not, I'm going to be hearing a lot about that and probably seeing it repeatedly, possibly over and over and over. Oh well, it's one of those things. Had to be someone. Thank you all for the congratulations though. There's even a rainbow over Torchwood. That's lovely. Can we see it on camera? It's very faint. It's a very faint rainbow. Difficult, very difficult to spot. It's faint even to the eye. And maybe Impala's at the other end of that rainbow. We never know. Let's go find out. So, and as we do, Darlene, you were wondering because you were saying that your favorite animal is wolves. Darlene's watching in New Hampshire, by the way. So you love wolves, and obviously out here there's no chance of seeing them, although essentially the wild dogs are an African type of wolf. They fit into a very similar ecological niche, and they actually have quite fairly similar social structures. But you would like to know if there's ever a chance of seeing a jackal on these live safaris, and you were wondering if they were maybe endangered because you haven't heard them mentioned. And Darlene, there's absolutely a good chance of you seeing either a side-striped, which is the most likely one to see out here, or a black-backed jackal, and I know many of the regular viewers have had quite a few sightings of them. And they're generally quite territorial. There's one that lives on the Arathusa airstrip and that we see every now and again. It's actually a black-backed jackal. I must say I was quite fascinated when I first started working here at how few jackal there were around. They're not animals that are endangered. They are animals that are persecuted throughout South Africa if they make their way onto farmland, for example, where they're considered to be somewhat unfairly a threat to livestock. But they're tiny. I mean, they're tiny little canids, and for the most part are very well equipped at both a combination of scavenging, and I'm looking at the European roller there, combination of scavenging and eating various insects. There he is on the right there. Now I know that Scott mentioned he saw flocks of European rollers and bee eaters flying to the east. Well, there's one of them. We are on the eastern boundary. It's looking a little bit sorry for itself and a little bit bedraggled, but that is a beautiful view of a a European roller. So we've actually done relatively well with birds today, between all of the different species of bee eater and now a beautiful view of the European roller. And you can see now up close how dominant that blue color is, as opposed to the lilac-breasted roller that is a striking combination of purple and blue. European rollers. Oh, what did he catch there? He's back up on his branch, but he shot down towards the termite mound and caught something. Oh, and swallowed it. That was quick. Wow. That was very effective. I wonder what's starting to emerge from these termite mounds. Hey, our first kill of the day. Well done, Mr. Roller. Hidden as you are. And actually behind him, I'm going to start up and... Oh, no, he's going again. What is he after here? caught another one. He's after the flying ants, so the termites that are coming out because of the rain. Well done. That's his second one in the space of under a minute. Very impressive. That's why he's settled down here next to this termite mound. It's right behind Vium, which is a bit tricky. I think I might reposition so that when he goes again, you can actually watch the full process. But look how beautiful that view is. They really are exquisite birds. One of the migrant species, unlike the lilac-breasted roller that we see all year round. This is the best time of year to be watching European rollers. I think I'm going to shift around because they're going to keep coming to this termite mound as these reproductive termites start to come out. So they're emerging from the vents in the termite mound and they're starting to pop out there. And that's something that I'm sure, I don't know if Scott touched upon, but is very common to see after the rain. If I go here, is that okay, Vium? Get both of them. Oh, beautiful sky. So maybe, as Scott mentioned, apparently he did touch on the subject, and he said it might not be as numerous as it is usually around the first rainfall, but we do get these population explosions. I've put Vium straight into the sun, which actually isn't ideal. I just want to see if that roller decides to go again. Let's just give it a moment. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. We couldn't even see him there for a second. And they come through during our summer months. So maybe a bird some of you might have seen during its time further north of our position, or further north of South Africa. You see in this light, but they take on the most incredible purple sheen. Also probably attracted by the explosion of reproductive termites, although as Scott actually said, they haven't been coming out nearly as thick or as fast as they have in the past. Now, what's been interesting for me to observe, and it was something that one of the viewers raised a couple of weeks or a couple of days ago, about the bird, whether we've seen a reduction in bird population here, or rather, as it was phrased, whether the reserves closer to the mountain ranges, so closer to the Drakensberg, and they have had a bit more water than we have had here. And a viewer asked whether or not there's been an increased presence of some of the bird species in that area. And Fiona, this sort of comes onto the topic of what you've asked about waxbills. And we haven't actually seen, I have seen waxbills around and about. Fiona was wondering if there's a reason why we haven't seen them recently on the live drives. Honestly, Fiona, I have noticed a drop in their number, which I'm quite surprised by, but I've also noticed a drop in the number of cuckoo species we've been seeing. There was a period briefly at the start of summer where we were hearing the Jacobin cuckoo all the time. We had the two greater spotted cuckoos that were sort of hanging out around quarantine. You'd always hear the Deirdrix and the Clausus cuckoo. And it's honestly been days since I last heard a cuckoo calling, and I actually haven't seen any of them recently. And I think that ties into what you were asking about the waxbills. I wonder whether or not they haven't moved to a more suitable area in terms of rainfall. And they don't have to really move far. If we look towards, the distance towards the mountains where that often catch the rain on the escarpment, it's probably in a straight line, about 100 kilometers or even less, actually, in certain parts. So, Fiona, I actually think that that's why we haven't seen as many. They've moved off. I'm going to leave our roller because there's not that much coming out. We did hear that lion calling. I think it's across our boundary. I think it's in Buffelshoek, but I'm going to go up and check that boundary out anyway, see if there's any sign of tracks coming through. Now, if it is towards the north, sounded like it was coming from in that direction. So if it is from that direction, it'll probably be the Salati males calling. It's been a while since I've heard them call, but you never know. We're still waiting for the Nkuhumas to make an appearance, or maybe even the Telematis if we're really lucky. I've never seen them before. Last I heard though, the Nkuhumas were further southeast around Nkoro. Ginny, you're watching in Texas and you wanted to know where we get the most questions from and why that might be. And Ginny, the most questions that we get through are from the United States. So anywhere around the States, we get lots of questions coming from there. I don't think I could pinpoint a state specifically. It tends to be pretty much from all around, although I'm sure that time zones also play a little bit of a part in terms of our wonderful viewership. And I think the reason why is because Big Cat Week televised broadcasts, so when we actually go onto television with the product that we bring to people, we do a live drive on Nat.Geo Wild, that is broadcast, as far as I understand, only to the States itself. And I think that's what's brought a whole load of viewers on board from America. But we also get viewers from all around the world, and some of our most regular viewers who've been watching for a very long time come from across Europe. We got a question through from Tokyo the other day. Our viewership is fairly broad, but definitely the majority of our viewers are based in the States. And I'm fairly certain that is largely to do with things like televised broadcasts like Big Cat Week, maybe something, or the Mother's Day specials that we did, the 2 shows that we brought to the States in October. And that, I think, has just reached a broader market, and then people have come from there and continue to watch after that. It's wonderful though, and it's wonderful to see the way in which Wild Earth is growing and developing in the future. I'm so excited for the prospects that the future holds, and I know that the rest of the Wild Earth team feels the same. There's a lot of hard work and love that goes into the product that we bring the viewers, and it's wonderful to see viewership coming through and to have all of those questions just to remind us, because when you're a guide and when you take a drive, trying to flap my nose again, when you're a guide taking a game drive, you're able to look back at the people that you are talking to, and you're able to communicate with them and get an effect or get an impression of the effect that the information and the wonderful sightings that you're sharing with them is having on them directly. But of course, when we're out on drive like this, we're looking straight into the camera. We've got the wonderful cameraman, but the questions and the comments that come through are what really make it so special for me personally, I would say, because then we've got information and feedback, and it feels like we've got you all on the back with us. So it becomes like the biggest safari vehicle in the world. And I think that without the questions and the comments, these safari live drives would lose such a crucial aspect of them, because we get to talk to you all. It is like having you on the back with us, even if we've never met you. So please, as always, we encourage you. I know our regular viewers have asked lots and lots of questions in the past, but for new viewers, we always encourage you to send through whatever it is you would like to send through. Comments and questions, anything like that. And we love to hear from you. And let us know where you're from in the world. Let's see if it's not just States-based. And as I drive towards the beautiful evening sky, Scott has made his way towards the hyena den. So let's see what's happening there and whether there's going to be any sign of those brand new cubs.
Well, this is really exciting stuff for me. It's my first time at the new and I think improved den sites. of the Juma Clan, and there's also a few new additions, I'm told. I don't know who's who and what's what, but I know some of you have been paying very, very careful attention to the hyena and trying to work out which one belongs to who and what's happened over the past year that we've been filming them. So thank you very much to all of you who have contributed. I haven't had enough time to make sense of all of the information and screenshots that have been used, but look at this for an awesome sighting. So far I've seen 3 adults, one of which is in screen now, another one down to its right, and then one up to the top right of your screen lying at the entrance to the den. And I'm told there's some tiny new very cute additions to the clan, which will be pitch black in coloration, unlike the other little... Oh, look closely. I think I just got a glimpse of one's head. It was ever so slight and ever so quick, but it's going to be worth keeping an eye. Oh, there we go. Mom's definitely trying to get at it, trying to urge it out. Come on. And now I'm told that this is thought to be the new matriarch of the clan and was one of the attackers of a recent bout between hyena. It's believed to be intra-clan. I'm just going to ask Tibbs just to pan across. That's what was making the noise over there. It's that young cub who's cowering away now from the adults, and that little cub there was born in November and has been named November. And this is all information that's kindly being relayed to me from the final control, because like I said, it's not an easy business keeping tabs of who's who. Now I'm gonna do the unthinkable and tell Tibbs to stop filming this cute cub that's coming up to us, because there's a bit of action unfolding back up there. Now, who's who here? That cub to me looks like it could be one of the twins that we had seen a little bit earlier, that's just run through the interconnecting tunnels of these burrows and popped out in a different hole. There's November there. And those two, while I've been gone, have been named December 1 and 2, the slightly smaller ones. Isn't it wonderful that we're getting to see their developments? And not only that, but be able to compare the developments of the various ages, with the spots only just beginning to show through on the December twins. Yet on November it's quite a lot more prominence. I mean, there's just so much intricacies here in terms of clan hierarchy. There's a little tussle going on here between the sub-adults, which has been called June, and there was a little bit of a kind of hierarchical hustle or display there between June and December. I'm told December 2 has got a little white sock on its foot. I think it's December, no, sorry, that's December 1. So that's something to look out for, a little bit of white on the paws. Oh, and clearly being put in its place by June. Well, there's going to be a combination of playful antics as well as slightly more serious bullying, you could say, just to reaffirm statuses amongst the different clan members. Well, I'm not sure where the apparent matriarch has disappeared to, but she's no longer in sight, so maybe she said goodbye to her cubs, or who knows, maybe there's another kind of entrance mount. Oh, look here, there's some anal pasting. The one on the top right, Tebs. It just finished, you can see it wagging its tail, and what they do is they'll curl their tail upwards towards their spine and then rub a scent gland on their anus, usually on small little twigs. What message that hyena was leaving, I'm not too sure. And I stand to be corrected, but I think that this is the mother of November, who's an immaculate looking hyena. She looks quite young and in really good condition. So I'm guessing that's November's mother. Oh, some more interesting behavior on the far left, Tebs, with two little cubs. It looked like November was actually being mounted by December. So we just missed that, but that's what was happening there. This is so awesome. There's so much going on here. And they are such incredible animals, hyena. And for us to be allowed this insight into their lives is really fascinating. And now it's just about trying to keep our finger on the pulse and keep tabs of who's who and what's what. Not an easy business. But I feel with all of your guys' help, sending through prior screenshots and your thoughts and ideas as to who's who, it's really been a great example of teamwork, getting to know what's what. Good question just come through from Sarah Dobson, and she would like to know at what age will the young cubs start hunting. And let's have a look here, Tebs. June's coming up to say hello. Hello, June. Anywhere from about this size, they may start being taken out on foraging missions. Hello, I think that's November's mom that's just strolled past. Excuse me, November's mother, what exactly are you looking for here? It's sniffing the vehicle behind Tebs quite intently. I wonder if he's going to be able to swing the vehicle, the camera around without it getting a fright. It's shuffled a little bit away from the vehicle, but still very, very close. We have got no meat or snacks here. Although the other game drive vehicles certainly will. I'm sure they'll be carrying some biltong, some dried meat, South African delicacy. Anyway, sorry, back to the question. Anywhere from about 6 months of age, that'll be the earliest. Some more interesting behavior, some urinating at the entrance to the one den there, Tim. This is something that hyenas will also commonly do. And they'll do it in the same spot, and look at how she's purposefully putting her feet into this puddle of pee. The one hyena is even sampling it there. The cubs are getting all involved. And who knows what that's all about. Again, it's probably, I mean, it definitely has to do with some kind of dominance display, some kind of a message it's leaving behind. And they'll do it in the exact same spots. And Kirsty's just confirmed from the final control room that the same thing did happen just 2 nights ago. So whether it's trying to say that this is the main burrow that I like to lie on, or entrance to all these burrows, I'm not too sure, but they're clearly reading into this, sniffing very, very deeply. And wouldn't it be wonderful if our senses of smell were as intricate and as powerful as these animals? guess food is one thing that excites our nostrils. But other than that, we can't really read into too much as to whether humans are coming into season, so to speak, or in a good mood or in a bad mood, or trying to give us a message. All we can tell is whether something is going to taste good or not. Oh, we have some arboreal tree-climbing hyena cubs. This you don't see every day. Part monkey, part hyena. Oh, there we go. And it certainly is monkeying around up there. I think it's going to be a common play point for the hyena. They do like... Oh, there we go. There's the next one's turn. King of the castle, I think, is what's being played here. Sorry, again, back to the question about how old hyena will be when they start hunting and running with the clan. It's more likely from a year upwards, though. And the only reason I say it's as early as 6 months is that Brent, interestingly enough, a few months back, saw another hyena. We hadn't named them or kept really close tabs of who was who back then, but another small hyena at around 6 months of age was seen at a leopard kill, where Tingana, a big male leopard, had a kill hoisted up into a tree. And I remember Brent being amazed. I was amazed to hear that that cub had been taken so far from the den to a potentially dangerous spot. But their education can start quite young, but more typically from around a year of age they'll start moving more freely with the clan and getting involved in not only hunting, which they can do. It's not documented as much as we would like here in the Sabi Sands, but more often than not foraging here for snacks that have been killed by other animals or leftovers that have been abandoned by other predators. And even though hyena can be really formidable hunters, I feel that in the Sabi Sands they rely on the high leopard density and the fact that it's easy to steal from leopard. Oh, there was another anal paste. Did you see that with the little cub? It says if you just zoom straight in, there was 2 little blades of grass to the right of that cub. And there we go. Those are the 2 little blades of grass that popped up after its pasting. So they are all leaving messages in various spots around the den, all talking to one another, even though they're all here. But leaving kind of long-standing messages or notes, you could say, for one another to read. Happy cub. The reason why hyenas will not climb trees to try and access the kill of a leopard is they lack the skill as well as the tools. Their claws are always extended and are not nearly as sharp as the claws of a leopard, and they lack the agility, know-how, and I guess anatomy to be able to climb trees. They can try and jump. There was a hilarious clip that was filmed last year, or 2 years ago, I think, actually in 2014, with Peter Pretorius. Oh, here's another anal paste. There we go. It's fascinating. They actually hyperextend their anus. You may have seen a glimpse of that before pasting. Remarkable animals, these. And even though it may appear disgusting, let's not forget that a lot of animals out here sniff and smell the rear ends of their various sexes and various counterparts in order to communicate. It's not just the hyena. So we mustn't label them or bracket them, because they have been previously badly publicized, and I think that's why many people the world over kind of have this unjustifiable reason to dislike them. But they are, well, there is no reason to dislike these animals. They are fascinating and a critical key components in the African wilderness. Without them, there'd be a massive missing link in the chain. As I was saying, the happy cub, there was a really funny clip of this hyena trying to jump up to a kill. I think it did eventually get to it and pull it down out of the tree. I can't remember for certain though, but it was literally falling onto its back. Oh, it wasn't 2014, it was May this year when Peter was back for a short stint. And for those of you who don't know Peter, there's another presenter called Peter Pretorius and another one called Hayden Turner who come back and join us for the TV broadcast that we do to Nat.Geo Wild channel. So don't be, oh, not too sure what's going on there, but you heard the loud cackle of one of the cubs, not too happy. Just going to ask Tibbs to quickly pan across to the right. There's a beautiful pink skyline that it would be rude of us not to show you. There's a tree in the way, but look at that. And Jamie's one step ahead, and we're going to send you straight across to her vehicle, who's waiting to show you an even better view of the setting sun.
And this is definitely worth a look. After all of that noise and thunder and torrential downpour, you can see the clouds that you're looking at now slowly retreating away. That's that end of that storm front, but I think more rain on the way. Looks as though it's coming. I think we might expect a little bit more, but you can see how the rays of the sun have poked through, and the colors this evening are absolutely incredible. There's not many ways that you can top an African sunset like this. It really is quite spectacular to see, and especially when it's come hot on the heels of a little bit of much needed rain. Just look at that sun. Well, we just wanted to take a quick moment to show you this, just because it is so special. Incredible. All right, well, I'm going to send you back over to Scott now, who is still at the hyena den.
Well, very happy to hear that Jamie got you into what sounds like a wonderful spot to enjoy the incredible sunset. You didn't miss too much, thankfully, and there's just been some more general play between the cubs. You didn't miss out on any vocalizations, and I'm hoping and wondering if they have been vocalizing, and if so, have they been letting out their whooping howl from this den at night, late in the evening? Because it's one of my favorite noises about the African bush, and it's one that we seldom get to hear and show you from up close. Hello to Iggy, who would like to just confirm the correct collective noun for a hyena. And a pack is usually used for dogs, Iggy, and despite their appearance, they're actually more cat-like than dog-like. That's why we call their youngsters cubs. And the official kind of collective term that's used for hyena is a clan. There may be one or two others, but as far as I'm aware, it's a clan of hyena. Cape turtle dove calling behind us. What are you thinking? You're very restless. They're coming to look and see if there are any snacks. Well, I'm not too sure who this is. Speculations coming through that it could be Bella. a hyena that would be 1 year old now, born last year, and she's sending off. There's that very distinctive notch on her bottom that you may have seen on her right bottom cheek that Nikki remembers seeing from a way back. So well done, and I'm happy somebody's kind of keeping tabs of who's who, because like I said, I am really battling to know which one is which. And I guess there's an important lesson there. Often people sitting at home or in the final control room are getting better views than the presenters and cameramen out here getting the film, the shots to you. And I guess there's a number of reasons for that. Maybe we're looking on a very small monitor. Tibbs is looking to a tiny little screen on his camera. Anyway, I guess it's kind of equatable to watching a live sports game from home as opposed to being here in the flesh. There's certain benefits to being at home. Good speculations just come through from Jeffrey in Texas, trying to kind of read into a little bit more about this urinating at the entrance to the burrows. And Jeffrey seems to think that maybe, I mean, it could be that there's more testosterone in the actual urine, which gives a clear message that they are the alpha. It could well be the case, Jeffrey. It certainly could. I guess with other animals, kind of like rhino and other animals that will scent mark in territory areas, even leopards, they'll be able to read into that smell and tell whether it was a big, strong male, I guess, or one that they should be scared of, or one that they can try and overthrow. So there is a strong chance that testosterone levels may come through in their urine smell, but I can't guarantee that. Certainly a good speculation, and thanks for planting that seed. Raid Freak on YouTube. Also interested to understand a little bit more about these complex creatures, and I would like to know at what age will hyenas start being able to reproduce. And I would say anywhere from about 2 years of age will they'll start becoming sexually active. But I do stand to be corrected there. I do know it's applicable for leopard and lion, that the 2-year age mark is one that will mean that they could... Oh no, hang on, I'm way off now, and I'm talking absolute nonsense, so forget everything I've just said, and it'll be a little bit more than that with the lions and the leopards, probably closer to 3 years of age for lions, 3 to 4, they'll start giving birth, so possibly it's the same for the hyena, and I just said 2 years because I was equating them to cats, which are similar to them. What's interesting though is that even though they're very young, you can see they've got a lot of control over their genitals, and this youngster's displaying just that right now. And they can fully erect their genitalia from a very young age, so interesting stuff. Sure, Chris in Pennsylvania has just thrown me a curveball and asked whether or not hyena are not more closely related to mongooses, as that's what he has heard, and mongoose youngsters are called pups. Well, I'm not too sure. Anything is possible, and I am certainly not 100% sure on that. I find it hard to believe though, but it possibly is the case. So I can't confirm anything there, sadly, Chris. Well, what a wonderful afternoon it's been. Finished off with some cute sightings and some interesting sightings and interactions of this clan of hyena, and it's been a great pleasure sharing these moments with you. So thank you very, very much for all of your help And apologies for the delay, but it was needed for that rain, that slight deluge that fell down just at the beginning of the drive. Thankfully, we got that, and hopefully there'll be some more. Anyway, thanks Tebs on camera, thanks to Nikki and Kirsty in the final control room, and of course, again, thanks to you. Over to Jamie.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure that goes down in the record books as my best drive ever. Certainly the most dignified I have ever behaved in front of camera. So thank you all for your kind words of encouragement. It has been a joy. Liam, thank you for your wonderful camera work. It has been fantastic having you. I'm glad that I could make you smile. I hope I made all of the viewers smile as well. And thank you to the lovely Nikki and Kirst in FC for providing me with the boost after that particular incident. And thank you as always to the wonderful viewers that we have. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye bye guys.